Welcome to the Creators MBA podcast, your go-to resource for mastering the art and science of digital product entrepreneurship. My name is Dr. Destiny Kopp, and I help business owners generate consistent revenue from their digital product business without the need to be glued to their desk, constantly live launching, or worrying about the social media algorithms. I hope you enjoy our episode today. Hi there, Destiny here. And before I get into today's episode, I want to give you just a little bit of a background here. Now, this is a recording on a business roundtable discussion that I did in my peer mastermind last week. You are going to absolutely love this discussion. It was completely unscripted. And we're just coming to you and giving it to you raw. We did not hold back on this. And we talked about the stuff that actually happened this year. You're going to hear about how I am personally going through some extreme burnout because I've been working so much this year. I'm definitely going to be changing it, but you're going to hear about some of the things that have happened. And everybody was completely honest and raw. Listen to it. Respond back to any of my emails and let me know how much you loved it. And if you can relate to any of it, I'd love to get your feedback on this. And we will be doing these roundtables in 2026. So if there's any specific topics that you would love for us to cover, let me know, and we will put them on the agenda to cover them later. Hey there, welcome to our 2026 Planning Roundtable. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm your moderator, Sage Grayson, and you can reach me at sagegrayson.com. And we are the Weird Hermits. We are a group of women online business owners who have earned multiple six figures for multiple years. We call ourselves the Weird Hermits because we all work in our homes like weird little hermit crabs, but we love it. And at least once a week, we gather together to share strategies and brainstorm solutions and really support each other's businesses. I love this group so much. And every once in a while, we do one of these live panels where we invite you, our lovely followers, so you can interact with us and ask us all of your burning questions about a specific topic. Today's topic is planning. You are going to love this. We are going to talk about exactly what is working for our businesses and what's not working. We're going to talk about the bad stuff too. And we're going to show you how you can have a focused and sustainable business into the new year. You are going to love this, and we are so glad you're here. We have gathered up freebies, deals, and invitations just for you from the Weird Hermits, and I'm going to put the link to that document into the chat right now. We will share that link a few times during the call, and also we will link our gifts document with the replay when we're done. All right. I think we're ready to get started. Let's introduce our expert panelists. We're going to do 1 to 2 sentence introductions. Does that sound good? Monica, will you introduce yourself?
My name's Monica Froese, and I have multiple brands. I have Redefining Mom, which is a brand for moms, indicative of the title. Empowered Business is my B2B side of things, and basically I help people create high-converting digital products, and I have a Shopify store called Empowered Shop.
Wonderful. Thanks for being here. Destiny. So my name is Dr. Destiny Kopp, and I'm a university marketing professor full-time, but I also have 2 businesses that I own. One is Hobby School, which is my B2C brand, and I also have my personal brand where I do business growth coaching for digital product entrepreneurs.
Hey, everybody. Super excited to be here. I also have multiple brands because once you start one business, why wouldn't you want more than one? So over at elizabethstevenson.com, I help online business owners with the legal side of running a business. And then over at Creator Ops Hub, which used to be called Blogger Breakthrough, I help with systems and just simplifying and systemizing your business so that you can take back your time.
Steph, give us your introduction.
Hey everyone, I am Steph Blake. I have 3 brands where I do a lot of different things, but mostly I help entrepreneurs simplify and automate their businesses. And then I also have a personal brand called Create and Escape, where we focus on all of the inner stuff that happens that goes right along with business so that we can have more fun and play and create and all of that good stuff.
Ruth, would you like to give us your introduction?
Hi, everyone. I am Ruth Poundwhite. I am a business and self-belief coach. I have the Soulful Sales Summit and the Soulful Sales podcast, and I help people to sell more in alignment with their energy, values, and personality.
Kate, give us your introduction.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kate Kordsmeyer from Success with Soul. I help entrepreneurs grow their businesses without social media. So I quit social myself in 2021 and now help others do the same. And yeah, glad to be here.
Thank you. We're glad you're here. And Tara, give us your intro.
Hey, everyone. I am Tara Reed. I am a business and marketing strategist, primarily for other introverted entrepreneurs. I'm a huge introvert. I'm also the host of the Introvertpreneur Virtual Summit. We're going into our 6th year of running it, and the Introvertpreneur podcast. And yeah, I'm so excited for this because 2025 has been a shit show. So I'm ready for 2026.
So we're going to get into all of that. Just real quick, I am Sage Grayson, and I am a former book editor turned life and business coach, or as I like to say, I'm the life editor, and so are you. And I help ambitious entrepreneurs earn 10K months with their businesses consistently with ease so they can quit their 9-to-5 jobs. All right, I think we're ready to dive in. Remember, if you've got questions for us, please add them into the chat and we'll get to as many as we can. Let's start this off on a high note, shall we? I would love to hear the 2 or 3 things that were really working for you in 2025. So who wants to share what was really blowing it out of the park, what really knocked your socks off this year, what was working in your business this year?
I can go with one. I started regularly hosting JV workshops, and they've been going really well. And the system I built around it worked really well. So that's been a big win for me this year. Is I've known JV workshops work, but then actually building it out so it takes me 30 minutes to set one up has been huge.
Whoa! How did you get it down to 30 minutes?
I built a system with Airtable and I automate a lot. So it'll automate creating the promo pack and setting up the pages in WordPress. And then I just have to go add a pattern and it's pretty quick.
Oh, I love it. Anything else that was working for you, Liz?
I'm just going to stick with the JV workshops for now. I've completely rebranded it.
Fantastic. All right. Who else has some good news? Who else wants to share something that was really working for you? Kate. Kate, and then Tara.
Tara, go ahead. I was just going to say the evergreen things that I put in place did work because it was such a challenging year that I wasn't able to show up for half the year in the way that I wanted to. So it wasn't as bad as it could have been if I didn't have those evergreen things in place. My evergreen 6-month email sequence still was going out, still saw sales and results and nurtured my audience. My traffic didn't dip a huge amount because I had been focused on Pinterest and SEO. So the things that past Tara had done definitely were something that I was thankful that she had done because I did still see those results this year when I wasn't able to show up.
Thank you. Kate, tell us about your wins.
Yeah, I just want to say, I know that 2025, we hear this all the time. 2025 was such a weird year, and we have a lot of people that have really struggled, some in this group, some just friends and people that we know. It's been challenging personally for a lot of people. So I don't say this to dismiss any of that because I think it is very real. But I also say that it's not the case for everybody. And I think sometimes it's helpful to hear that it's not all doom and gloom across the board trajectory right now. And I agree with what Tara said. A lot of what's been working for me this year are things that past me set up. And I can't even really say I did this one specific thing and that changed everything. It's a lot of small systems and things that I've built over time that have a compound effect. And I think maybe that's one of the biggest changes that we're really seeing. There's never been a magic bullet, but I think a lot of us have seen that it's not just one thing and that you have to have kind of this whole ecosystem working together. And that when you do, when one thing breaks or when something stops working or your personal life takes over or whatever, that your whole business doesn't disappear because you have all of these different levers that you can pull. Just sharing that 2025 is not all doom and gloom, and that there are some people are out there still buying, still engaging, still opening emails, still coming to calls. And I think there's a lot of messaging right now that's nothing's working anymore. And I think those people are usually trying to sell you something. So just some things are still working quite well.
Yes.
I have one.
Monica, please.
So I did enter 2025 probably in the worst state entering 2025, let's say that, to the point that in May, I actually updated my resume. And if anyone has known me for a while, there is no planet that I want to go back to corporate. Okay. That is I am not meant to answer to someone else in my life. And luckily that is not what ended up happening. I basically in May, I did that. And I think that was my wake up call to be like, you know what? Sometimes I think we get so set in our ways of what we're doing that I almost feel like I stopped being innovative. And so I went into the summer. I said for basically from June through September, I'm like, I'm going to say yes to everything. And because I had not had the capacity to say yes to a lot of things because of my personal life up to that point for the previous 2 years. And the second half of this year was something crazy, like 300% more revenue than the first half of this year. So that's what kicked it off. And then I did a podcast interview for my 100 podcast episode on the Empowered Business Podcast. And it was with a friend of mine, Cheryl Rarick, who is an email marketing expert and specializes in deliverability stuff. I realized, wow, especially in the age of AI and all the noise and having inbox scanners out there, I'm like, we really have to know how to get into the inbox. And so I came up with this idea called inbox experiments. I just one day was like, I want to get people to respond to my emails. And so what I did was I started on Saturday morning at 9 a.m., I would say, hey, I was really into creating a lot of GPTs. And I was like, respond, yes, I want the GPT, and I'll send it to you. And what I started noticing is, so I got people to respond. That was one of those signals I was looking for, getting people on. But then it kicked off these conversations. People would then use the GPT and be like, this is amazing. What's the next step? And I'm like, oh, so now I'm getting them to respond and I'm getting them to use it. So then I started incentivizing them that if they responded with the output, that I would send them another bonus. And that bonus, it was always an offer to what the next step after that GPT was. That went really well, which led me to this 21-day event I hosted in October called Potion a Day. And it revived my shop, which had taken a hit because I really hadn't been promoting it. And it was the biggest marketing campaign that I ran this year. And they were $9 GPTs. Getting people to respond was my takeaway. I feel like I stopped talking to people and suddenly I was having hundreds of replies.
Wonderful. That is fantastic. And we're so glad to hear that. Destiny, do you want to tell us what was working in your business?
Yeah, I think my story is probably very similar to Kate's in that I can't really necessarily pinpoint one exact thing that worked for me this year, because I think it's really just a combination of what I've been building over time that has really, it's that 1% kind of improvement that you make on a regular basis that kind of builds up in your business. And I did place a lot of emphasis on really doubling down and focusing on what's working. And if something was working, right, keep doing it. Don't stop doing it. Build upon that and really double down on that. Like, I know webinars work for me. I know that these events in hobby school work for me. We have a rinse and repeat process that is super easy. I don't even have to touch anything there. We just have a rinse and repeat process that we can run every single month. And I know based on past history, I know what revenue I'm going to get from something like that. But again, this is just something that I have built over time and not necessarily, oh, this was just one magical thing that worked for me this year.
That is such a great point, is to focus in on the things that are already working for you and build those up. That's where you're going to get the best result. Steph, tell us about your wins.
Yeah, the thing that was working this year was me. Because the last 2 years, I honestly was not able to work sometimes 5 hours a week because I had a lot happening in my personal life. So I did a lot this year. Honestly, I created a whole new company, Create and Escape. That took up the vast majority of my time. But really, I think I agree with things that everybody has said here, but especially with what Kate said. where everybody's just been so doom and gloom. People say that literally every year. Every single year, people say it's the worst year ever. That's not the case. This has also been one of my best years since 2020, which was my best year. And it's just because I was working and I was able to think and be more strategic, but also because I focused on doing what I wanted to do. For many years, I started with high ticket, then I went to low ticket for a really long time. And I realized that was not a model that resonated with me. I did not enjoy it. So then this year, I switched back to doing what I really enjoy doing. And I wouldn't even call it high ticket, but it's higher than what I was doing before, and really focusing on working with people more closely on a one-to-one basis and just diving really deep. And it wasn't until I think this is the same for everything, right? We go through so many experiences for a reason. And it was, if I hadn't had gone through everything that I went through in the past couple of years, I don't think I would have had this realization that I really enjoy diving deep with very few people. And that's okay. Even if everybody else says you have to have 3 million people in your membership or whatever, that's not aligned with me. And I would say that's a huge one for me and something I'm definitely carrying over to next year as well.
That really resonates with me too, because I am shifting from low ticket to high ticket as well. But yes, I do want to say to everyone that what your win is might be completely different from somebody else's win, what's going to work for your business. And Ruth, will you tell us what was working for you this year?
But I was going to say what Kate said, because there really is no one thing. There's no magic thing. If you looked at all the individual things I did, some of them actually probably didn't even do that well, but they've all added up, and consistently I've shown up and sold and focused on the things that are working, like Destiny said. I wanted to share a couple of more mindset pieces. And one was I really messed up with my money in 2024. I had a really bad year for my mental health. I was not working. And a result of that was not tracking my money properly, not setting aside. I took too much money out of my business. It really screwed things up. The benefit of that has been how on the ball I've gotten about my money and gotten so clear on what I'm spending in my business, what I need to bring in every month to cover my essential expenses, and just getting so on top of things. I feel so much more empowered. And it motivates me so much. I went from a goal of having however many months saved with expenses, and then I keep increasing that goal. I want to have an extra month saved, I want to have an extra month saved. That has been really motivating for me. I know when I had my best years in that previous business was when I was so on the ball with tracking my money and knowing my numbers. And I feel like I'm back to that place. And I do think it's had a tangible effect in my business. And again, it's been a good year for my business as well. And the other mindset piece is really being honest with myself, especially after such a hard year, about my capacity and the support that I need, and building in the systems and the support to stop me having to do all of the things and getting stressed and not being able to hold it all. That has been huge for me as well.
Yes, I love that you mentioned energy and capacity too. I was very sick for about 4 months at the beginning of the year, and I had to forgive myself that I wasn't able to do as much work as I normally. I'm like a go getter. I always have something I'm working on. But I was able to still have a really great year. And what was working for me was owning my worth a little bit more. So you all know I'm the queen of $7 tripwires. Quietly, without notice, I changed my $7 tripwires so that my tripwires are now 75% off. Not $7 for everything, even if it was $500, but 75% off. And my income for my digital product sales tripled. So that was like a learning for me that I don't have to give everything away dirt cheap, and people will still buy. People will still see the value. So I did really like my $7 tripwire experiment, and I do believe that can really work. So I will still teach the $7 tripwires, but I think as you grow with your business, your audience grows to it and they will pay you more. So that worked for me. Moving from Facebook group to school, which I literally did 2 weeks ago, has already been amazing for me. The engagement is so much more, and I'm loving the leaderboards. I'm loving just how everyone seems to be there. It's really great. So more to come with school. I'm excited about that. And also, like Steph had mentioned, I had been doing low-ticket digital product sales for about the past 3 years. And now I'm moving back to more active income, like high priced, like elite level programs, which is what I did at the beginning of my business pre-pandemic. And it's feeling so good. I really miss this. Steph and I had a whole conversation about how I like being around people. I want to be teaching more. I want to be doing more active stuff. And that's certainly because I'm an extrovert. So now my Goodbye 9 to 5 mastermind group has been exploding. And it's been so great. It's been so great being able to like talk to people and get on Zoom calls. And if that works for you, go all in with Active Income. Go all in with high ticket. You don't feel like you have to do it the way that everyone else does. And I feel like I can do that now because I've got almost 60 digital courses that I feel like I could just sell my all access pass, which is called Life Editor Academy, and just sell that as it is, and then really focus in on my mastermind group. Other things that have been working, just like Kate, I'm on a huge daily sales streak. So I'm at more than 700 days of daily sales. And yeah, I feel like I'm coming back to a version of me that I haven't seen for a few years. And that feels really good. So that was what was winning for me in 2025. Okay. Do we want to talk about what was not working in 2025 and maybe mistakes or things we wouldn't do or things we are not bringing with us into 2026? Who's got something that was like, that wasn't great this year? Maybe I'll not continue that next year. Who's got something like that? Kate, please.
I do think mindset is really important. And one of the things I was thinking as everybody was talking is that I said at the beginning of this, oh, this has been one of my best years in a while. And it's true that it has, but I'm also making way less gross revenue than I have in years past. And so I thought that was interesting. And thinking about what Ruth said, it was like, I think I also I moved the goalposts. And I used to be all more, I have to be 7 figures. I have to make all this. Like I needed to sound really impressive. And I feel like one of the things that I started shifting in 2024 after I came back from a 6-month sabbatical, but I really leaned into it hard this year, was having a high profit business and not focusing so much on that I have to be a 7-figure business owner and focusing more on what am I paying myself and how does it feel? And I think that is why when I say I've had one of the best years, it's not necessarily that I've made the most money that I ever have. It's that I am paying myself the most I ever have. And I am enjoying the process so much more. So I think one of the things that did not work for me, to answer your question, was looking at too much at what other people are doing or worrying too much about how things sound. I used to make this much. Now I'm just so much resistance with reality rather than accepting reality and then making changes based on where I was at. And so I feel like that resistance really hurt me and took me a long time to truly let go of and just surrender to this is where you are now. And something we've been talking about in our group is we all know how to make money. We've all done it before. And so when any of us is, oh, it's not working, or why isn't this going the way I expected? Or what if I had to go back and get a real job or anything? It's like just reminding ourselves, we actually do know how to make money. And if we can just calm our nervous systems and kind of point to our true north, I think that's where the magic has happened for me this year.
Oh, thank you. Monica, what do you have?
I have something to piggyback off of what Kate just said, because I always was striving for the $7 million a year type business. I do not want that. I do not want the responsibility of that. I want to spend time with my kids and not be as stressed. And that was like, I was like there when my divorce happened in 2023. And what I learned from that experience, I learned a lot. But one of the things business-wise I learned was when your revenue starts dipping and you have a high expense business, it does not come down at the same rate. And so I had to make really tough decisions this year on my expense load, like decisions that if you had said a year ago I was going to make, I'd been like, I'm never getting rid of that. I'm not cutting support there. And I basically, for the second half of the year, did this completely alone. And then that's exactly what I reminded myself. I know how to make money online. I know how to do this. I've been doing this for a decade, but I would much rather have high profit and enjoy my life than chase some arbitrary revenue number that only stresses me.
Yes. Stop chasing the numbers. Oh my gosh. I love that. Who else has something that you're not taking into 2026 with you? Yeah, Ruth.
So, something that I've really witnessed in my fellow Weird Hermits is we will have a conversation and you'll be like, I'm thinking of doing this. And then I just see you like go out and do it. What I realized in myself is I often make a decision to 90% of the way there, but that 10% of doubt takes up so much space in my head. And I think about changing the decision that I already almost made. So I am done with 90% decisions. And I truly believe that making quick decisions, it's not a new thing, but it's definitely a thing that I continue to work on. Making quick decisions, putting things out there imperfectly, testing things. And that's the thing, like, I do believe that it would look like that from the outside, but sometimes in my head, I'm so caught up in, oh, should I change it? Should I change it? And actually, I'm trying to finish work by the end of next week, take off time for Christmas, and then I'm going to Thailand for 3 weeks. So I'm like, I do not have time to overthink anything right now. And it's actually quite helpful. Like, it's quite helpful. So yeah, I'm leaving behind 90% decisions in 2025.
That is so good. Leave behind the 90% decisions. I love quick decisions. Thank you. Steph, what were you going to say?
Yeah, Ruth, I love that. I put in the chat, build the plane while you're flying it. I heard that years ago and I never really understood it until I realized I had an idea and I was like, oh, this is what I do the vast majority of the time because I just have an idea and I run with it for better or mostly for worse most times. But one of the things I'm definitely leaving behind is paying team members that I don't need. I realized that I was overpaying for, there's a lot that goes into it, but there was a lot of internal self-worth issues with that. I'm afraid to do this thing, so I'm just going to pay somebody else to do it. So I just offloaded a lot of things that I didn't want to deal with. And after realizing how much money I was paying for people without the results that I wanted, I was like, okay, how can we change this quickly? So I was like, okay, what can we simplify? What can we automate? And what can I use AI for? And I just basically completely changed so many backend elements in my business by either just eliminating them, offloading them to other team members that I have, or automating them, or using AI in some way. It's usually a combination of all of those. But I would say that was a huge change. And Kate said as well, it helped me to increase my profits too and face the things that I didn't want to face, which again is part of just your evolution as an entrepreneur.
Oh, I love it. I've got a great question about automation that we'll get to in a minute, but I definitely both believe in cutting out what you don't need, whether that's team members or complicated systems. Tara, would you tell us about anything that you're not bringing into 2026, or what are you going to leave behind?
Oh, so much. I feel like right now is like a weird time for me to answer this, but I feel like what I'm going to take into, and everything else can just be left behind, into 2026 is I feel like I've reignited my passion a little bit for marketing, for implementing, for doing the things. And I feel like right now it's like we had our in-person thing, and then it was Black Friday, and now it's December, which is always a weird month, and where I like to take some time off at the end of the month, like at least 2 weeks. And I'm like trying to take everything that I got from being in person with all of you amazing humans. And I feel like it's just lit me up again, where I just want to take what I've been doing that feels good and leave everything else behind. So I loved when Ruth said the 90% on decision making, because I just put that in our Voxer about moving everything to Kartra. I was like, I'm 90% sure. And so that's something that I'm probably going to do, is move everything to Kartra, simplify, get rid of old offers. Like, I don't need to move them. They can just retire and go away. So yeah, simplifying. Yay, Kate.
Wonderful. Yes, right there with you about making those tough decisions, leaving behind what's not working, doing what feels good. I think a lot of us just need to trust ourselves a little bit more. Liz, I got to hear, what are you leaving behind and not taking into the new year?
Blogger breakthrough.
Tell us about it.
So it got rebranded, right? So I'm not completely like doing it. It no longer was aligning with where I was going and what I wanted to do. I don't just serve bloggers, really. I'm serving creators with systems. I was feeling very stagnant. So this year I was like, I'm going to really simplify and streamline my business. And I cleaned up elizabethstephenson.com in like Q1, create a new evergreen newsletter that's done really well, like revamped products, workshops, the whole thing. And I'm still working on funnels there, but it really came together quickly. And then when it came time to clean up Blogger Breakthrough, I really struggled. And then you guys were like, I've never liked the name. And I was like,
that was an interesting.
And so you guys got me thinking about it. And I was like, okay, so once I finally, like, I didn't have a clear direction for it. I was just like doing the summit every year and it wasn't really doing as well. And it didn't really align with what I wanted to be doing. And so once I got clear on that, like, I'm actually excited about this site again and like what I'm building over there and the offers I've created. And it's making it much easier to like simplify and see what needs to be cut as like an old thing versus a new. Granted, the freebie I put in is definitely probably an old thing I'm not really offering anymore, but we're going to just go past that. So it really provided a lot of clarity for me. A Blogger Breakthrough Summit is not anymore. I'm going to do a different summit in March. And I'm looking for speakers if anyone with supply applications are due the 15th. Yeah, I will. So yeah, I'm leaving behind a whole brand in 2025.
That's incredible. And we are all so proud of you. So let them be know that you don't have to keep dragging her along something, even if it's what you're known for, even if it's something that you loved for a long time. You're allowed to grow and change. We are so excited. Okay, I have another question that Kate is also connected to your getting rid of the low memberships too. I would love to hear if your business had to make the same amount of money that you made this year or more, but you had to do it with half the energy output. Just so all of you know here, most of our Weird Hermits here are introverted. They have neurodivergent. What else? We are caregivers. Many of us have children. We have busy lives, just like you do. So if you had to make the same amount of money in your business or more, but with half the energy output, let's say you just don't have the energy, what would you cut, automate, delegate, delete? Tell me, if you had to make the same amount of money, but you're getting rid of all the fluff here, tell us, what are you getting rid of?
Honestly, because this is where I am, because and I've talked to Kate about this several times. I have been going through extreme burnout this year, especially the past 6 months. So I'm like, I've got to figure out something different. And so I've really just looked at everything that I've been working on and assessing everything. So looking at what can we automate? Who do I need to hire? So I've been hiring, and this is opposite of some of the discussion here. I have been hiring people to help me because I'm like, I have got to reduce the hours that I'm working. The other thing that I'm going to do going forward into the new year is to really focus on paid advertising. So a lot of the effort that I've been doing in some of these lead gen activities that have been taking up my time, I just don't have the time anymore. So I'm going to automate a lot of the lead gen activities. And that is, I cannot tell you how much that's going to take off my plate. So that and hiring people, I'm so looking forward to 2026 and actually working a lot less than what I'm doing right now.
I love that. Hiring people, beefing up your ads, that is going to give you your energy and your time back too. So just to say to everyone, what we're suggesting, we might have different things that give us our energy back than you might. Kate, what were you going to say about how are you going to preserve your energy if you had to make the same amount of money or more, but do it with half your energy?
Yeah, I agree with Destiny on the ad front. I feel like 2024 for me was the year of bundles and summits. And I 100% think bundles and summits are the best way to grow your email list for free, fast. There's nothing else that I have found that is as fast and as free as bundles and summits. And it takes time and energy and email calendar promo space. And you have to create presentations and you've got to get all the pages, all the things. So in 2025, I said, I'm going to be a lot pickier about what I'm contributing to this year. Save some of that energy, and I'm going to go all in on ads. And it took me a while to get my ads where they are profitable now. I have been running the same ad since February, and it took me tweaking mostly backend funnel pieces, not the ad itself, until July to get it profitable. And now it is working like gangbusters. And so I am just all in on on continuing to, it's so much more automated. It is so much more like you turn it on and you don't really think about it again until you come back in a couple weeks and make sure things are working. And obviously there's that tweaking phase, but we're actually teaching this funnel in I Get It Done week in January inside my membership. And I feel like ads are just they're the fastest way to grow your list free, not free, like bundles and summits, but it's paid. But I feel like it's been working really well. And yeah, so I'm all in on ads too. And I think with that, I am tweaking some of my offers, making massive changes to things. 2026 is going to be more of a refining year for me of how can I make it work even better without changing too much? How can I make this work in less time from me, with less expenses from me, with less burnout? How can I feel better about things? One of the things I'm doing is I'm closing my low ticket membership. I have a $9 a month membership. I am rebranding some things and I am raising my prices on a lot of stuff. And I think that we all have to go through our own evolution with pricing. I am so glad that I did the $7 tripwire for a year. I am so glad that I really got a lot of energy and momentum going in my business. I got people quick wins and I got great testimonials and people were buying a ton because it was really cheap, but it requires so much volume. And I think I've figured out like the high volume business, that's just not a game that I want to play. I'm an introvert, chronically ill, and neurodivergent. I've got 2 kids. Like I've got all the things that are like my capacity is very low. So I am raising my prices on a lot of things and doing it in a very values aligned way. I think my pendulum has really swung. Like I went all the way into high ticket for a couple of years. Then I think I overcorrected, right? And my pendulum swung all the way into everything's $7. And I'm glad I did it. I learned so much. And now I'm finding my sweet spot in the middle, which isn't super high ticket, but it's also not everything is $7. So that's what's working for me and what I'm going to try to do more of in 2020.
Ruth, your entire summit is about this topic, about how you can earn more money without hustling like crazy while still preserving your energy, doing it soulfully. If you had to earn the same amount of money next year, what are you going to cut, automate, delegate, get rid of?
Everything that isn't my unique magic. So the first thing that came to mind was thinking about Destiny and how Destiny runs her summits for a hobby school and just said it's so hands-off, she doesn't have to do anything. That is not my experience of running a summit, okay? Just to be real. It's not my experience, but I have more support now than I have had before and this year. And what I have realized is I want to control everything so much. I want to delegate, but only in, here's this very specific thing that I want you to do. And what I'm leaning into in the last few months is, here's this thing that I want you to take control of and you tell me what I need to do. That is a huge difference to my mental capacity. So for example, I have someone basically project managing the summit. She'll come to me I am choosing the speakers. And I know Destiny feels like that's a very important element, like the topics and stuff. That's like our unique magic. Like we have the vision for what we want the event to be. And obviously this does not just apply to summits, but this is just the example I'm using. The other stuff is practical logistics, keeping things moving. I don't need to be in the weeds with all of that, but it's much easier said than done. But if I had to, and you know what, when you ask that question, I'm like, if we have an answer come to mind, then maybe we just do that thing. It's not just a question and a nice answer, but let's actually do it. So what I will do is hand over, automate, delegate the stuff that is not my unique magic and focus on what is.
Oh, perfect. Perfect. Does anyone else have thoughts about if you were going to earn the same amount of money or more, but you had half the energy, what would you do?
Because I think it's important it doesn't have to be all or nothing. Sometimes it could be, maybe there's something that isn't necessarily working, or maybe you don't fully enjoy it on the consistent like routine that you've set for it. So it could be something that you just maybe scale back. That's what I did when I first left social media. I scaled back for 6 months. And then after the 6 months, I checked in with myself, like, how am I feeling? Do I feel like I'm missing out, or I'm not, what have I been doing with the time that I've gotten back in that 6 months? And is it worth it to let it go completely? So sometimes it's like scaling something back to give yourself permission to let it go. So I just wanted to share that. One example is my podcast. I brought it back a couple months ago. I did like weekly episodes, and now I haven't published an episode again in a few weeks. And I'm like, it's something that I do enjoy, but I'm not getting the return on the investment that I'd like to have from it. So I'm like, I don't want to ditch it completely. I like having that platform if I want it. So I was doing weekly episodes. Now it's just going to be like when I feel I have something to share and want to put an episode out.
Yes, you don't have to stick to a strict schedule. I think your episodes will be more helpful if it is something that you truly want to share and not just like, got to get an episode out.
And we put so much pressure on consistency. So I just wanted to say, it's like, you can just scale things back slowly and then check in and see how it feels, see how your numbers are looking for that.
What I would do, or what I have done this year, is I took my low price membership and I rolled it into my mastermind group. So it's included in there, but not separate. So it's fewer things for me to have to manage, which is great. Also, a lot of my shifting is stepping into a new mindset. I'm working with a mindset coach, and I feel like I have not given myself enough time to really work on myself. So I'm carving out more time in my schedule to get in the right mindset of how I want to approach my business, how I want to interact with my audience, instead of just going all the time, which is definitely a habit of mine. Just keep going and keep going. So I'm slowing down, and I've noticed even in the past month, November was my highest income month of the year. And hopefully December will beat it. But I think that was definitely because I was spending more time on me and less time on what can I give everyone. We do have a hard stop at the top of the hour. Let me just post our gifts document in the chat one more time. So make sure you all check out our freebies, our deals, different invitations.
For the past couple of years, I've been taking care of like literally everyone except for myself. So one of the things that I'm leaving behind is not taking care of myself. I started about halfway through this year, realizing how important it truly is to take care of your body, your mind, your nervous system. I said we need to just do an entire page just on nervous system work because it's so crucial. And I don't know what happened, but something changed. Like I turned into a different person after this summer. And I noticed that my business, it followed, right? Like I made so much more money doing so much less work. So that's something that I am continuing to do and take into next year. But to answer your question, one thing that I would do, I already automate like literally everything I should automate. So that's not a problem. But the ads piece is something that I didn't do for such a long time because I was terrified. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to spend money and I'm going to lose money. That was my mindset. Like I would not make money with my ads. As soon as I switched that mindset and I was like, no, all of my ads are going to be profitable. Sure, there's going to be work that goes into it. You have to learn how to run ads, how to set them up, create copy that converts. It's a whole skill set that you have to learn. But I think once I stepped into that mindset of knowing, oh, I can do this, I can figure it out. That was a huge thing for me. And also really leaning into more higher ticket work, but more implementation. I mentioned this, was it this week? Last week? I don't even remember when it was. But I did an implementation session with one of my clients where we just got on and I just like basically set up everything for her in 3 hours. And I came off of that feeling the most excited that I've felt in such a long time. And I'm an introvert. So that's not something that usually happens. I'm usually drained and I have to go take a nap after I have calls. But I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. This is really the magic for me where I just go and I just set up people's automations all day. It's so much fun and like, so exciting for me. And I could charge more. But again, that brings in the need to leave behind old mindsets.
Great. I love it. I have one more question. I would love to do like a quick round, like a speed round with everyone answering real quick. What is one boundary that you enforced this year, a boundary that you enforced this year that had the biggest results for your business? I will say my boundary I enforced, I no longer do extended payment plans for my coaching. I would ridiculously give people 12-month payment plans for a 6-month program. No, I don't do crazy payment plans anymore. That was a boundary that I set and people stepped up and now they're paying one payment, which is great. Monica, do you have a boundary that you set this year that got you a big result?
I don't.
I feel like I've always had very good boundaries in the business. Like so I don't struggle there. I set a lot of personal boundaries in my life, and that does impact the business. I set boundaries. I have a family that very much demands my time for everything and thinks I'm like the responsible one for everything. And it was really weighing on me. I couldn't be present in the way I needed to be for my daughters and the business. And so I've enforced a lot of family boundaries, which has paid dividends for my mental health.
Love it. I've always had, I'm like, I've had very strong boundaries in my life, both personally and professionally. My boundary going into 2026 is just like protecting my time. I have to stop working as much as I'm doing, but that's really on me, right? I need to figure out other ways to get the work done. And I think I'm there, like I figured it out, but I am putting that boundary on myself for 2026.
Destiny, you need like a destiny for yourself on your work boundaries, because we all have this joke that like we get a nasty customer service email or somebody's just misbehaving, whatever. We're like, what would Destiny do? I agree with what Monica said about family boundaries. I feel like I put a lot of boundaries in with my husband this year, particularly with childcare and sharing the load. Fair play, 1000% recommend for any married couples. One of my favorite things that I did, though, is that I have a monthly solo retreat where I get to go to a hotel by myself for one night. And I usually go for like a full 24 hours. And this has been life-giving to me and the business and my personal life. I'm a huge miles and points person, so I'm usually not spending any money to do it. I just find a cheap points deal and book it.
Ruth, what's your boundary?
Right, my boundary is really boring, and it is not one that I stick to all the time. So it's not really a boundary, but get enough sleep, go to bed on time. Honestly, it fixes everything.
Steph, what's your boundary?
Yeah, so I already have pretty good business boundaries, but mine is definitely personal. Every night after my youngest goes to bed, which is usually between 7 or 7:30, I go upstairs and I close the door and nobody's allowed to come in and find me. So I usually get 3 hours of alone time with no husband, no kids, and I'm usually reading my Kindle at that time.
Oh, I love it. Tara, what's your boundary?
I feel like I've always been good with setting boundaries. It's sticking with them that has always been a struggle, because I'm naturally a people pleaser. I hate any kind of confrontation. So I feel like it's always been something that I've really had to work at. So it's still like I can set a boundary and I am good for several months, and then I start to find myself going back into that pattern. So I think for me, the boundary is just knowing that about myself and knowing that I have to keep checking in with myself about any boundaries that I've set and making sure, like, asking myself, like, why am I doing this?
Liz, take us home. What's your boundary?
So one like business boundary I've always been good about is not tolerating being treated like crap. It's not often I get like a nasty email. I know it all happens to us at some point, but I actually had one earlier this like Monday. I had messed up the embed on my 12 days of freebies, and it made like you couldn't click right or something. And someone emailed me like livid this, saying I did it on purpose, that I was trying to like illegally collect information and swearing. And I was like, okay, unsubscribe. I'm not responding. I don't need this. Like, unsubscribe. I don't want you on my list. I don't tolerate that. Like, it wasn't even a customer, but I was like, sorry, I'm trying to give you something free. And I made one tiny mistake that I was able to fix in 10 minutes once I knew about it. Like, I had other people email me like, hey, this isn't quite working. And I was like, oh, so sorry. Let me fix that. But this person was like rude. And I was like, I'm a human. Bye. So that's a business boundary. Like, I've never had qualms about unsubscribing people who don't recognize me as a human, and just setting that boundary. And I will blacklist people as well, so they can't come back. I think you guys all know I hit a level of burnout this year that required quite the conversation with my family and the support I needed to recover from this burnout. And I've been holding fairly well to those boundaries. I've definitely had to remind directly, not gently, directly, of, oh, hey, this hasn't happened yet. This needs to happen. Go do that. But yeah, so it's something I'm working on. The last 2 years, personally, have had a lot of stuff, and it came to a head in September this year when I was just like not able to function. Yeah, working on that boundary.
Great. I think that is huge, that we don't need to put up with people who don't see us as human. We don't need to put up with abuse in our business. Friends, we have to wrap this up. I have another call to jump on to, but we are the Weird Hermits and we love doing these panels. So please put in the chat right now, email us, let us know what topics you want us to cover in our future roundtables. We will be sending out the replay, and next to the replay, we will have our document with all of our gifts. Let me paste that in there one more time for you. Yeah, we definitely want to know your key takeaways too, and how you are going to be planning for your 2026. All right.
Perfect job as always, Sage.
Thank you so much for being here, and we'll talk to you real soon. Bye.
Thanks for listening all the way to the end. I hope you enjoyed this episode today. If you love the show, I'd appreciate a review on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast platform. Have a great rest of your day, and bye for now.